Ambassador Jisoo Park took a deep breath as she looked out the window of the UES Seoul. The massive space station called Nexus Prime grew larger as their ship moved closer. 3 years had passed since aliens first came to Earth. Now humanity was finally allowed to join the Galactic Assembly. But Jisoo knew this would not be easy. She turned to look at her small team. Captain Minho Kim stood near the controls, his uniform neat and clean. Dr. Yoonji Lee was reading reports on her tablet. Trade Representative Jenyuk Choi was practicing his speech one more time. They were Earth's best people, but Jisoo wondered if that would be enough. "Ambassador, we're getting close," Captain Minho said. His voice was calm, but Jisoo could hear the worry underneath. They all knew what other aliens thought about humans. The Grand Assembly Hall was the biggest room Jisoo had ever seen. Thousands of alien beings filled the space. Some looked like living crystals that sparkled in the light. Others buzzed like insects but moved together like one mind. Ancient tree-like creatures stood tall, with glowing patterns on their bark skin. The room was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. When the human team walked in, whispers started immediately. Jisoo earpiece translated some of the alien words. "Look at the Deathworlders," one voice said. "How did they survive on that poisonous planet?" said another. "Such a violent species," whispered a third. "Their history is so bloody and barbaric." The whispers followed them as they walked. Aliens pointed at the humans and made clicking sounds. That might have been laughter. Some covered their mouths with tentacles or claws, trying to hide their amusement. Others just stared with big eyes full of curiosity and fear. A tall alien with silver skin pointed toward seats in the far corner. The sign above them said Developing Species Section in many different alien languages. Jisoo felt her face get hot with embarrassment, but she smiled politely and led her team to the assigned seats. The ceremony began with floating creatures making beautiful music. Then different alien leaders gave speeches about peace and cooperation. Their words were pretty, but Jisoo noticed none of them mentioned Earth or humans at all. It was like they were invisible. Finally, it was time for new member introductions. When they called Earth, Jisoo stood up and walked to the speaking platform. The huge hall became quiet, but not in a respectful way. She could feel thousands of alien eyes watching her like she was some kind of strange animal in a zoo. "Thank you for welcoming Earth to the Galactic Assembly," Jisoo began. Her voice carried clearly through the hall's speakers. "We are honored to be here and excited to contribute to galactic peace and prosperity." Some aliens made soft clicking sounds. Others whispered to each other behind their hands or tentacles. Jisoo continued, "We would like to request equal representation on the trade committees and scientific exchange programs. Earth has much to offer in mining technology, medical research, and agricultural development." The clicking sounds got louder. Then one alien started making a high musical noise that sounded like wind chimes. Soon other aliens joined in. She realized with growing horror that they were laughing at her. High Counselor Varek floated forward. He was one of the crystal beings called Ithriels. His body sparkled with rainbow colors as he moved. When he spoke, his voice sounded like singing. "How wonderfully amusing," Varek said, his crystal form brightening with what was clearly joy. "The little Deathworlders want to play with the grown-ups. Tell me, Primitive One, what could your violent species possibly teach civilized beings?" More laughter filled the hall. Some aliens slapped their knees or tentacles against their chairs. Others made whistling sounds that must have been their version of giggles. Perhaps Varek continued, "You should simply be grateful that we allow dangerous creatures like you in our peaceful assembly at all. After all, everyone knows what your kind did to your own planet. Wars, pollution, killing your own species for resources. Very uncivilized behavior." The laughter grew even louder. Captain Minho's hands made fists at his sides, but he stayed in his seat. Dr. Yoonji was writing notes very fast, her pen moving angry across the paper. Jenyuk was staring at the floor, his face red with shame. Jisoo felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm and polite. We understand the Assembly's concerns about Earth's past. We hope our future actions will show our commitment to peace and cooperation with all galactic species. Oh, how precious. Another alien called out from the audience. They think they can change. Deathworlders will always be violent. It's in their nature. Maybe we should put them in a zoo, suggested another voice. Let people come see the aggressive pets from the poison planet. The hall erupted in laughter again. Even the serious-looking tree creatures were shaking with amusement. Some aliens were pointing at the humans and making jokes in their own languages. Jisoo smiled politely through it all, but something cold and hard was growing behind her eyes. When the laughter finally died down, she bowed respectfully to the assembly. "Thank you for this warm welcome," she said. Her voice was still sweet and diplomatic. Earth looks forward to proving itself worthy of membership in this distinguished organization. She walked back to her seat as aliens continued to whisper and giggle. But as she sat down, Captain Minho saw something in her expression that made him straighten up. Dr. Yoonji stopped writing and looked at her ambassador with new attention. Jenyuk raised his head from the floor. The humans sat quietly through the rest of the ceremony, but they were no longer the same people who had entered the hall that morning. Something important had changed. The galaxy had just made its first big mistake with humanity, and they didn't even know it yet. 6 months had passed since the embarrassing ceremony at Nexus Prime. Ambassador Jisoo Park sat in her office on Earth, reading another rejection letter. This one was from the Galactic Trade Council, denying humanity's request to join the metal or trading routes. The reason given was simple: primitive systems unsuitable for advanced commerce. It was the same story everywhere. Human scientists were blocked from research exchanges because they were too violent to handle sophisticated technology. Medical conferences refused Earth doctors, claiming their barbaric healing methods might contaminate advanced medicine. Even simple cultural exchanges were denied. Captain Daeho Sung didn't know about these political problems as he guided his merchant ship New Busan through hyperspace. His cargo hold was full of rare minerals from Earth's asteroid belt. The destination was Kepler Station, a neutral trading post where humans were still allowed to sell their goods, though at much lower prices than other species received. Daeho was a simple man who had spent 20 years flying cargo ships. He had a wife and 2 children back on Earth who depended on his trading runs for their income. The journey to Kepler Station usually took 3 days, and it had always been safe before. The attack came without warning. Daeho was drinking coffee in his captain's chair when the ship's alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed across the control panels as his scanner showed 5 large ships dropping out of hyperspace around him. "This is the merchant vessel New Busan," Daeho broadcast. "On all emergency frequencies. We are under attack by unknown vessels. Our position is Sector 7 Alpha. We are a peaceful cargo ship with no weapons. Please help us." The attacking ships were Korthok pirates, known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. Their leader's voice came through the radio, speaking in broken galactic common language. "Surrender now, soft humans. Your cargo belongs to us. You will make good slaves at Grimhold Station." Daeho's hands shook as he sent out another distress call. "This is Captain Sung of the New Busan. We are being attacked by Korthok pirates. Request immediate assistance from any galactic patrol vessels in the area. We have 12 crew members aboard." The response came quickly from a galactic patrol ship only 2 hours away. Commander Zilth's voice was cold and uncaring. "Deathworlder vessel, your request for assistance is denied. Galactic Patrol does not intervene in conflicts involving violent species. Perhaps this experience will teach you to stay within your designated space where you belong." Daeho couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Commander, we are peaceful merchants under attack by pirates. We need help. Please, we have families. Your violent nature attracts violence. Human, the galaxy is safer when your kind deals with your own problems. Do not contact us again. The channel went dead. Daeho stared at his radio in shock. Around him, his crew was preparing for the worst. Engineer Young-Ho Lee was trying to boost the ship's weak shields. Navigator Minji Choi was looking for places to hide in nearby asteroid fields. But everyone knew it was hopeless. The new Busan had no weapons and no military training. When the Korthok ships surrounded them, Daeho had no choice but to surrender. The pirates boarded his ship with energy weapons and metal clubs. They laughed as they tied up the human crew with thick ropes. Fresh meat for the slave markets, the Korthok leader said, showing his sharp teeth. Humans bring good prices. Everyone wants to own a dangerous Deathworlder. The 12 crew members were loaded onto the pirate ships like cargo. Their own vessel was stripped of everything valuable, then left drifting empty in space. The pirates took them to Grimhold Station, a massive criminal base built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, back on Earth. Admiral G1 Rodriguez received a terrible news in her office at Fleet Command. She was a tough woman who had served in Earth's military for 30 years. She had fought in the water wars and the resource conflicts. She knew how to stay calm in bad situations, but as she read the report about the new Busan, her jaw muscles got tight with anger. 12 good people, taken by pirates while the Galactic Patrol watched and did nothing? It was not the first time. 3 other human ships had disappeared in the last month, always in areas where galactic law was supposed to protect them. How many of our people are out there right now? She asked her aide, Colonel Simon Park. Colonel Park checked his computer files. Approximately 2,000 Earth citizens on various trade missions. Admiral, most of them are in unprotected space because the safe routes are closed to us. Admiral Rodriguez stood up and walked to the big window in her office. Outside, she could see the lights of Seoul stretching to the horizon. Millions of people lived down there, depending on trade with other worlds for medicine, technology, and resources that Earth couldn't produce. Send new orders to all merchant ships, she said quietly. They are to return to Earth space immediately. No more solo missions. Yes, Admiral. What about the crews already captured? Admiral Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. Then she activated her secure communication system. Within minutes, coded messages were going out to every human military base in the solar system. Ship captains received new patrol routes that looked like normal exercises, but moved the fleet into forward positions. Meanwhile, Ambassador Jisoo was making one last attempt at diplomacy. She requested an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council to discuss the piracy problem. High Counselor Varric's response was delivered with musical laughter. Perhaps the pirates are doing the galaxy a favor by keeping violent Deathworlders contained. You should learn to accept your proper place in civilized society, primitive one. The council chamber filled with alien laughter once again. But this time, Ambassador Jisoo didn't smile politely. She stood up, bowed once, and walked out without saying another word. Her message to Earth was very short. Diplomacy has failed. Recommend alternative solutions. The message was received by Admiral Rodriguez exactly 18 minutes later. She read it twice, then opened her wall safe and took out a red folder marked Contingency Plans. The galaxy was about to learn something important about Deathworlders, but they didn't know it yet. The UES Incheon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Grimhold Station's detection range. Captain Sojin Lee stood on the bridge, studying the massive criminal base through her ship's cameras. The station was built inside a huge asteroid, with metal structures and weapon platforms covering its rocky surface. Thousands of lights showed where ships came and went, bringing stolen goods and captured slaves. Captain Lee was 45 years old and had commanded warships for 15 years. She had fought pirates before in Earth's solar system, but never anything this big. Intelligence reports said over 3,000 slaves from many different species were kept inside that floating prison. Captain, we're getting a message from the station, reported communications officer Taeyeon Jung. Put it on the main screen, Captain Lee ordered. A huge alien face appeared on the monitor. Crime Lord Vaxus had gray skin covered in scars and 4 red eyes that glowed in the darkness. His mouth was full of sharp metal teeth that clicked when he talked. Well, what do we have here? Vaxus said with a voice like grinding metal. A little human warship has come to visit. Are you lost, Deathworlder? Captain Lee stepped forward, so the alien could see her clearly. This is Captain Lee of the United Earthship in You are holding 12 citizens of Earth as slaves. Return them immediately. Vaxus threw back his head and made a horrible laughing sound. Behind him, other criminals joined in the laughter. Or what, little human? You see one ship against my entire station. I have 50 warships here, plus all the weapons on this base. Leave now, or you can join your friends in the slave pens. Captain Lee's face stayed calm, but her crew could see the anger in her eyes. You have 10 minutes to release our people and all other slaves. This is your only warning. 10 minutes. Vaxus laughed even harder. I think I'll keep your people. Humans make excellent slaves. Everyone wants to own a dangerous Deathworlder. Maybe I'll sell them to the gladiator rings. The crowds love watching violent humans fight wild animals. The alien cut off the communication channel, still laughing. Around the bridge, the Ancient's crew waited for orders. They all knew they were outnumbered badly, but no one looked afraid. Captain Lee checked her watch. Weapons Officer Kim, are all systems ready? Yes, Captain. All missile tubes loaded. Energy cannons charged and ready. Navigator Choi, plot attack patterns Alpha through Delta. Prepare for close combat. Yes, Captain. All attack routes calculated. 10 minutes passed exactly. Then Captain Lee gave the order that changed everything. All stations, open fire. The battle began with a massive explosion that lit up space like a new sun. The Ancient's first missile strike hit Grimhold Station's main power generator. The station's lights went dark as emergency systems tried to keep life support working. The criminal base's weapons started firing back immediately. Energy beams and missiles filled the space around the human ship, but something was wrong. The station's defenses were designed to fight other pirates and small patrol ships. Not a real military vessel built by a species that had survived global wars and environmental disasters. Human weapons were different too. They were made to work in Earth's harsh environment, with acid rain and radiation storms. When the Ancient's missiles hit the station's armor, they cut through it like paper. The alien criminals had never seen weapons that powerful before. Captain Lee was not just using superior firepower. She was using tactics that shocked everyone watching the battle. When the station's shields started holding against direct attacks, she did something no civilized species would think of. She aimed her ship directly at the station's waste disposal system. Captain, that's the garbage chute, said Navigator Choi. It's too small for the ship. Not for the ship, Captain Lee replied. For boarding pods, launch all pods directly into their waste system. The boarding pods were small armored vehicles that carried human marines. Most species would never think to enter through a garbage system, but humans had fought in sewers and toxic waste dumps during Earth's wars. A little alien garbage did not scare them. Marine Captain Taijin Park led the boarding team through the station's waste tunnels. His soldiers wore powered armor that protected them from radiation and chemicals that would kill most aliens. They fought through areas too dangerous for other species to enter, using the station's own toxic environment as protection. But what shocked galactic observers most was how humans fought. When Marine Private Ji-hoon Nam was wounded by enemy fire, his team did not leave him behind. They carried him with them, fighting harder to protect their injured friend. When Corporal Sung Heo found alien slaves locked in cages, she used her armor's cutting tools to free them, even though it slowed down the mission. The battle turned when Captain Park's team reached the station's command center. Crime Lord Vaxus was there with his best fighters, but they had never faced humans in close combat before. The aliens were bigger and stronger, but humans moved differently. They used teamwork and tactics that confused their enemies. When Vac finally surrendered, he was shaking with fear. "You're all crazy," he whispered. "Civilized beings don't fight like this. You were willing to blow up the whole station." Captain Park removed his helmet, showing his sweating face. "That's right. We don't leave our people behind, and we don't negotiate with slavers. Remember that." The rescue operation freed over 3,000 slaves from dozens of different species. Many of them had been prisoners for years, and they could not believe that someone had finally come to save them. News of Grimhold Station's fall spread across the galaxy within hours. Most civilized species tried to dismiss it as humans getting lucky against mere criminals. But when the Korthak Empire declared war on humanity for destroying their pirate base, everything changed. The galaxy was about to learn that Grimhold Station was just the beginning. Humans had been polite for too long, and now they were done asking nicely. The Korthak Empire had ruled 17 star systems for over a century. Their military was famous across the galaxy for quick victories and overwhelming force. War leader Kraxus studied the star maps in his command ship, planning humanity's destruction with confidence. "These Deathworlders destroyed one criminal station and think they are warriors," Kraxus told his officers. His voice was deep and threatening, like rocks grinding together. "We will show them what real military power looks like." The Korthak were large aliens with thick gray skin and 4 powerful arms. They had conquered many worlds by following simple rules of civilized warfare. First, they would demand surrender. When the enemy refused, they would attack with superior numbers. Most species would give up quickly to avoid unnecessary deaths. Kraxus launched 3 full battle fleets against human colonies. Each fleet had over 100 warships and thousands of soldiers. The first target was New Sol, a farming world with only 50,000 human colonists. "Send the standard surrender demand," Kraxus ordered. "Give them 1 day to evacuate all military personnel and prepare for occupation. Remind them that resistance will only bring more suffering." The response from New Sol came back within an hour. It was very short. "Come and take it." Kraxus was confused by this answer. Most civilized species would at least try to negotiate terms for surrender, but humans seemed to prefer fighting hopeless battles. The invasion began at dawn on New Sol. Korthak dropships landed near the main city, carrying 10,000 elite soldiers. They expected to find human military forces waiting in defensive positions. Instead, they found empty streets and silent buildings. Commander Raxel led the first wave of troops into the city center. "Where are the human soldiers?" he asked his aide. "Our intelligence said this world had a defense force. Sensors show life signs throughout the city, Commander, but no military formations. Perhaps they are hiding in the buildings." As the Korthak soldiers moved deeper into the city, the real battle began. The humans were not hiding in the buildings. They were the buildings. Every window might have a sniper. Every doorway could hide explosives. Every street corner was a potential ambush point. The first explosion killed 12 Korthak soldiers when they entered what looked like an empty school. 16-year-old Min Seo Kim had spent 3 days wiring the building with bombs made from farming chemicals. She watched from across the street as enemy troops walked into her trap. "This is not how civilized species fight," Commander Raxel complained over his radio. "They are using civilian buildings as weapons platforms. They have armed their children, but the surprises were just beginning." When Korthak vehicles tried to move through the farming areas around the city, they found that the humans had turned their own land into a battlefield. The fields were full of hidden mines made from fertilizer and fuel. Farming equipment had been modified into weapons. Old farmer Kung Ho Jang drove his harvesting machine straight into a group of enemy tanks. He had welded metal plates to his tractor and filled it with explosives. The aliens could not understand why a civilian would sacrifice himself to destroy military equipment. The battle that shocked the Korthok most happened at the grain storage facility. A group of elderly humans, led by 70-year-old grandmother Sunbok Park, defended the building for 6 hours against hundreds of soldiers. They used hunting rifles and homemade explosives to hold off professional warriors. "Why don't they surrender?" demanded Commander Raxel. "The building has no military value. It's just grain storage." What he didn't understand was that humans were not just fighting for military objectives. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their way of life. Every building, every field, every street had personal meaning to them. Meanwhile, in space above New Sol, the human fleet was showing the galaxy new ways to fight. Admiral Hunwoo Park commanded only 30 ships against the Korthok's 100-vessel fleet. By all civilized military thinking, he should have retreated or asked for terms. Instead, Admiral Park did something that horrified galactic observers. He ordered civilian cargo ships to be converted into weapons. Merchant vessels were loaded with explosives and sent on collision courses with enemy warships. "This is barbaric," protested the galactic military observer monitoring the battle. "They are using civilian ships as weapons. This violates every rule of civilized warfare." But humans had learned their military tactics during centuries of desperate wars on Earth. When Captain Seong Lim's warship ran out of missiles, she rammed her ship directly into a Korthok cruiser. Both ships were destroyed, but her sacrifice saved a colony transport carrying 10,000 refugees. The Korthok Empire had never faced an enemy like this before. Most species would fight until they suffered acceptable losses, then negotiate a surrender to save lives. Humans seemed willing to fight until every last person was dead, rather than give up. The turning point came when human forces began attacking Korthok supply lines. Captain Sung-Hoon Lee led raids against enemy fuel depots and food warehouses. Instead of fighting fair battles, humans struck at the support systems that kept the Korthok war machine running. "They are targeting our logistics centers," War Leader Kraxus reported to the Korthok High Command. "This is not honorable combat. Civilized species fight military targets, not supply lines." But humans had learned that the best way to win a war was to make it impossible for the enemy to continue fighting. They attacked communication arrays, destroyed transport hubs, and captured ammunition stockpiles. Every victory made the forces weaker and more desperate. Within 6 months, the mighty Korthok Empire was losing entire star systems to a species they had dismissed as primitive Deathworlders. Their military doctrine, successful for over a century, was completely useless against enemies who refused to follow the rules. The galaxy watched in shock as humanity turned the tables on one of the most feared military powers in civilized space. But this was only the beginning of their education about what Deathworlders could do when they stopped being polite. The war ended on a Tuesday morning when General Sun Wuhan stepped off his transport ship onto the Korthok homeworld. Behind him marched 10,000 human soldiers, but they were not alone. Former slaves from dozens of species walked beside them, carrying weapons and wearing makeshift uniforms. The mighty Korthok Empire had fallen in just 18 months. Emperor Vorthok waited in his golden throne room, surrounded by his remaining generals. The massive alien ruler had 4 arms and skin like gray stone, but now he looked small and defeated. His empire that had conquered 17 worlds was gone, destroyed by a species most of the galaxy still called primitive. "I surrender unconditionally," Emperor Vorthok said when General Han entered the room. His voice shook with fear and shame. "Please, do not destroy my people. We will give you anything you want." General Han was a quiet man who had spent 30 years in Earth's military. He had fought in the African desert wars and the Arctic resource conflicts. He understood both victory and mercy. "We did not come here to destroy anyone," General Han replied calmly. "We came because you threatened our people and enslaved innocent beings across the galaxy. Now we will show you how Earth builds peace." The Korthok generals looked confused. They had expected death or slavery, the same fate they gave to conquered enemies. Instead, humans offered something no one in the galaxy had seen before: a fair peace treaty with reconstruction aid for former enemies. News of the Korthok surrender reached every corner of galactic civilization within hours. The same species who had laughed at humanity just 2 years ago now watched their news broadcasts in terrified silence. The impossible had happened. A single Deathworld species had destroyed a galactic empire at Nexus Prime. The Galactic Assembly called an emergency session. Representatives who had once mocked humans now desperately tried to contact Earth's government. They sent gifts, offered trade deals, and requested friendship treaties. Everyone wanted to avoid becoming humanities. Next target. Ambassador Jisoo Park returned to the Grand Assembly Hall, but everything was different now. Instead of being directed to the developing species section, she was escorted to the main council table, where only the most powerful civilizations sat. The same aliens who had pointed and laughed now bowed respectfully as she passed. "Hi, Counselor." Varric floated nervously near his crystal podium. His rainbow light patterns were dim and flickering with anxiety. When Ambassador Jisoo approached, he began speaking quickly in his musical voice. "The Assembly deeply regrets any misunderstanding about Earth's capabilities," Varric said, his words rushing together. "Perhaps we were too hasty in our initial assessment. We would be honored to discuss new agreements that properly reflect humanity's obvious strength and wisdom." Ambassador Jisoo listened politely, but her expression remained calm and businesslike. She placed a data tablet on the central podium and activated the main display screen. Star charts appeared, showing human military positions throughout the galaxy. "There is nothing to discuss," she said clearly. "These are humanity's requirements. For continued participation in galactic civilization, we require equal representation on all councils, effective immediately. Fair trade agreements with full access to all commercial routes. And most importantly, the complete elimination of slavery and piracy in assembly space within one standard year." The hall erupted in shocked voices. Several alien representatives stood up to protest. A Zephyrian hive speaker buzzed angrily about sovereignty and traditional practices. A Sylvani elder creaked complaints about interference in internal affairs. "By what authority do humans make such demands?" shouted the representative from the hegemony of worlds. "You cannot simply dictate terms to the entire galaxy." Ambassador Jisoo's smile was the same polite expression she had worn during that first humiliating meeting 2 years ago. But now it carried a very different meaning. "By the authority of strength," she replied simply. "For 3 years, we tried being polite. We asked nicely for a seat at the table, for fair treatment, for basic respect. We followed your rules and accepted your insults. You laughed at us and called us primitive warmongers from a backwater death world." Her voice never rose above normal speaking level, but somehow it filled the vast hall and silenced every other sound. "You were half right about us," she continued. "We are from a death world, but you forgot the most important thing about death world species. We do not just survive impossible odds, we thrive under them. We grow stronger when things get difficult." The display screen changed to show military statistics. Earth now controlled 23 star systems, had defense agreements with over 60 liberated colonies, and maintained the largest active fleet in the galaxy. Numbers that proved humanity had become the dominant military power in civilized space. "You have a simple choice," Ambassador Jisoo explained. "Accept our partnership as equals, with all the responsibilities that entails, or explain to your populations why you chose conflict with a species that just ended a 1,000-year-old empire in 18 months. The silence in the hall lasted for almost a full minute. Then High Counselor Varric spoke, in a voice barely above a whisper. "The Assembly accepts Earth's terms without reservation." The vote was unanimous. Every species, every faction, every representative agreed to humanity's demands. There was no discussion, no negotiation, no attempt to bargain for better terms. The galaxy had learned its lesson about underestimating Deathworlders. Later that day, Admiral Juan Rodriguez filed her final report on the Korthok War. Her conclusion was simple: mission accomplished. Humanity has earned its place in galactic civilization, not through diplomacy or politeness, but through the kind of strength that only comes from surviving on a world that tries to kill you every day. The galaxy now understands that quiet people can be the most dangerous when you push them too far. Earth had finally taken its rightful place among the stars, and everyone knew the rules had changed forever.